had a stroke.
I'm not gonna do that!
Me, Mr. Tuggles.
How to be an ignorant little bastard if you're new to Gothic Slender Man.
Haven't you heard? I'm bisexual.
I'm okay!
The Slenderman turned you human, didn't he?
Terror. 10,000.
Because I love to taste the bitch! Terror's torture trial.
Ten-year anniversaries are always special. It's the moment where any project, whether that be TV show, movie, video game, anime, cartoon, book, or even YouTube channel, have stood the test of time long enough to make it to the double digits. Just think of all the things that became 10 years old in 2018 alone. Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Star Wars The Clone Wars, the day Barack Obama was elected the US President, Cloverfield, Grand Theft Auto 4, The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, Fallout 3, Ben 10 Alien Force, Spice and Wolf, Spore, Twilight, Mario Kart Wii, WALL-E, Dead Space, Mirror's Edge, Kung Fu Panda, Left 4 Dead, Little Big Planet, The Spectacular Spider-Man, Black Butler, Braid, the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Iron Man, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, Silent Hill Homecoming, The Dark Knight, Clan 8 After Story, Sonic Unleashed, The Secret Saturdays, Soul Calibur 4.
Stop!
Ahem. What Tug is trying to say is that 10 years is a long time to be doing what we're doing. We may not be the biggest channel, but that doesn't make our 10 years count any less than others.
Blake's right. For 10 years, Zachary Lowry has been making all sorts of content for YouTube. And while he may not have a huge audience like Shane Dawson, Mr. Creepypasta, or PewDiePie, he is still happy that he was able to do this for so long.
So to celebrate, and to show you, one of his 10 fans, and new viewers where it all started, I'm Tug the Penguin, formerly known as Mr. Tuggles.
And I'm Blake, the pair of bisexual boxers, formerly known as just bisexual boxers.
And I'm Jack the Terror Skull, formerly known as Terror, though you can still refer to me as Terror if you like.
And today, we're going to Pennsylvania, to Washington State, back to Pennsylvania, and over to Texas, as we take a look back at the JETRAY era. So, good question, but how did Zach get into making videos and YouTube to begin with? Yeah, that's a good place to start. When I was a young kid, I wasn't really that much of a social person. I was very socially awkward, nervous, and anxious. I never really had a lot of friends because of that, and I couldn't really get along with others. So I was the target for bullying a lot, and a lot of the time whenever I'd ask for help, you know the whole thing where teachers say, oh, if someone's bullying you, tell someone, I typically would get blamed for the bullying, and almost nothing would go through. So typically I'd be by myself just making stuff. It was my only real way to escape from the constant harassment that I had to deal with. When I was younger, I did sort of a Chris Chan where I made comics based on the bullies I don't like, and I made my own superhero alter ego called Ultra Z, and eventually started making videos, but not on YouTube, on my grandmother's camera. This was around, I'd say, 2004 to 2006, when we first moved to Pennsylvania. My grandmother would mainly use this camera for vacations, and I guess she was kind of annoyed that I was, quote-unquote, borrowing it so much, so she got me my own camera for Christmas, and I can't remember whether or not what year this was. I think it may have been 2006, maybe 7. It was the year the Polar Express came out. I know that because during that same Christmas, my sister actually got a laptop that came with the Polar Express. And I was kind of jealous a little bit, but I was still happy I got a camera of my own. I still use many of the tapes my grandmother had. Yes, it wasn't a digital camera, it was a video camera that used sort of cassette tape sized VCR tapes that you could put into an empty VCR and watch it on a TV. We don't have any of those anymore, and I would show you examples for something I'll go over later. Early 2008 or somewhere around late 2007, I'm not too sure, my sister would be getting on YouTube, and she would often invite me into her room to watch YouTube videos with her. These were typically things like Salad Fingers and Charlie the Unicorn and, oh my god, shows. And at that point in time, I was in a phase where I wanted to be like my sister, so I went on YouTube as well and discovered my own stuff that I would like Smosh and Food Battle, Make Me Bad 35, Fred, Ed's World, and a bunch of Family Guy clips. And eventually, I discovered that I could make videos and upload them on here. Now, I didn't understand that much about the internet, I didn't know that much about emails at that point in time, so I tried to open a channel, and I made up an email thinking it was just something you had to make up. It was called Stink Frog, and I think it had a bunch of numbers at the end, and I couldn't use it because I had no email to verify the account, so I had to use my mom's email to make another account. This would become my very first YouTube channel. As for the name, I was obsessed with Ben 10. It was my favorite cartoon on Cartoon Network, and Alien Force was just around the corner. In fact, they were doing this thing where certain codes would come on commercials and you could input them on a website, like either the Cartoon Network website or a website specifically for Alien Force, and you'd be able to unlock different aliens to look at. My favorite design was Goop, but even as a kid I realized Goop wouldn't be the good basis of a name, so instead I chose JETRAY. It was my second favorite. As for the numbers, I loved how 101 was always representing knowledge. And I also was watching Zoe 101 at the time, a famous Nickelodeon series by Dan Schneider. So I decided, how about I just go ahead and raise that one to 102? And that's where JETRAY 102 came in. Most usernames at that point in time had numbers. We couldn't have spaces. We couldn't put real names in there. I mean, we could, but you couldn't like put spaces in between, so it had to be like some kind of a Bob underscore Jakinson underscore 64, I don't know, something along those lines. I will say this though, I made one stupid move, and that was the upload button. You see, for some reason my kid mind, like I said, I was 12, I didn't understand YouTube, I thought the upload button meant take someone else's content. I don't know why, but I thought that's how it was, so I decided not to use the upload button, and I tried to find another way to upload videos, and I found this site called One True Media, which I don't think is up anymore. Essentially, One True Media was kind of like Mediafire, where you can upload files, but it also gave you the chance to put it into a form of a montage and upload it straight to your YouTube channel. And that's what I did at first, hence why most of my first videos had this intro that One True Media always forced you to have. My first videos on YouTube were clip shows, essentially, of like top 10 favorite cartoons, or top 10 characters I want in Super Smash Bros. Brawl 2, because I didn't know there were other games before Brawl, despite the fact I did play the original Smash Bros. Years ago. And yes, at that point in time, I made a video called Characters I Want in Super Smash Bros. Brawl 2, and I put the goddamn Chihuahua from Beverly Hills, Chihuahua. I am not even kidding. And it's kind of funny how things all come together, because I still do topless to this day, just arguably a lot better. Eventually, I figured out how to upload videos into my computer and edit them on Windows Movie Maker 2.6, which is what everyone used around 2008. Most people didn't use other software because it was way too expensive, and most of us just use either Windows Movie Maker or some other cheap thing. And most of these were more just montages than anything else, of me and my sister just goofing off.
Shadow, we need a pickle and a pickle and a pickle and a pickle. Okay, that's it. Chaos control!
And that's where things got started. A stupid 12-year-old who had no idea what he was doing, or had no idea how to use the internet nor YouTube, saw some videos on the internet, and if they were uploaded today, he'd surely become a meme and be shoved into every cringe compilation known to man. Thank God this was 2008 and people understood that shouting cringe wasn't constructive criticism. 2009 rolled up, and that's when his, let's say, creative desires came into play. 2009 is when I'd get a little more creative, I guess you'd say. I tried to create series, more characters, and more personal stuff. I tried to make a Super Smash Bros. Quote-unquote machinima called Code Smash, which is essentially a fanfiction between Code Lyoko and Super Smash Bros. Brawl, with me as a self-insert called the Transporter. It would be about this virus called DIV that would essentially be a backup program for Xana that would try and bring Xana back to life, but since Lyoko was destroyed, they decided to use Wi-Fi to connect to Brawl servers. Good luck doing that now.
Can't be. What is it, sir? It's the transporter.
I'm telling you what the transporter is.
The transporter is a being from the real world that is the only person who can see and go into the portals of Smash.
All the characters are voiced by me, a 13-year-old at that point who was just going through puberty, and I did that stupid thing where you put a camera and face the TV screen. I didn't know what a capture card was, and I thought, hey, people should deal with it. Yeah, that's legitimately what I thought. Like, oh, people should just deal with it. There was only one episode uploaded of that, and it's horrendous. I would have loved to just do like a whole reaction of that, but moving on. I eventually would create my own original web series called Jettober, which is essentially my version of Goosebumps, except with low random internet humor. Only one episode was made, and it was introducing a character that I'd constantly bring back over and over, who was originally just a one-off called Nat the Banana Ghost.
Okay, I'm coming. I was giving notes first. Somebody to stop it freaking here. Beware of the banana. Yes. I know, I may not look like a ghost, but this is going right through me.
He's not able to bend his knees all the way, so he shuffled everywhere, and he was just an overall dork. I was thinking about bringing back the character, but I'd have to reboot him because the whole idea is that he was going after me for moving into his house, and I don't live there anymore. It's been 6 years since we lived in that house. Jettober never continued despite the fact I planned a sequel to the first episode, which is about a decapitated Santa Claus head that would essentially just be a Christmas decoration. It never caught on, and I guess I never really had the ambition to continue it. Also, 2010 came around, and things were going a little, let's say, wonky on JETRAY 102.
Here's you. Don't call me naked anymore. You won't chase you. You. Frickin'. Frickin' go. Drop my banana. What the heck's going on?
Okay, we'll give you permission to put the word cringe in the comments after what you just saw. But just this once! Before we head into 2010, let's ask a special guest a few questions. Everyone click that like bar for Zach's loving big sister, Mina Lowry.
And to make sure we get the questions we need an interviewer who's willing to ask the hard-as-nails questions, who's able to get the truth honestly and righteously. And for that, you need none other than Harry Dick, retired professional famous journalist and interviewer. That's right, kids, I'm back. It's been nearly 5 years since I started my retirement, and I've temporarily returned just for this documentary. But with that being said, enough about me, and enough about Properly Gentleton, enough about Chipbacks. Let's go ahead and ask the people behind the camera. How about we start asking the questions with Mina Lowry? It was you who discovered YouTube. How did you come across such a site?
Salad fingers? I don't really know. Me and were watching, well, I guess surfing the internet. When we were in like 5th grade. We found salad fingers.
Hello. I like rusty spoons. I like to touch them.
Did you ever expect your brother to make an account?
No, not at all.
Do you remember your old original series, Charlie and Ginger?
It was a disaster. It didn't make any sense. And it's absolute trash. Go ahead and watch it if you want.
I've been mailed to Grandmoo's house. Charlie's right around the... Delivery for Grandmoo!
I got a gun! It's your eBay delivery. Oh, Ginger, long time no see.
My nickname was Ginger because I have red hair, and nickname was Charlie, and somehow it got passed down to. That's about it.
Do you remember Luigi the Chihuahua?
Duh. My child. My poor brown child.
Senorita, you would think I like near my mouth. Stop going tequila, get your fingers out of my fucking mouth. Oh, senorita, no! That's what I thought.
What was your favorite memory from the JETRAY era?
Making that movie. Whatever movie we wrote together.
Could you be more specific?
The Alice movie?
Could you happen to be referring to All for Nothing?
Yes.
Smoke my shit. What? Bitch, why'd you smoke my shit? That is serious shit. Yo, that's it. Yo, hey, yo, that's fucked up. Why'd you smoke my shit? What the fuck? Hey, 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 yo, what the? Wait, hey, yo, hey.
Mina was included in one of the last videos that would be uploaded to JETRAY 102, and one of the first for the new channel. Let's see how that goes as the number rises from 102 to 103. See, I'm not sure what was going on. I'm not sure if it was like an email issue or a YouTube issue, but I found it nearly impossible to upload videos, and not only that, very difficult to sign back in until one time I signed out and I was not able to get back in for whatever reason. I still don't know what was going on. And since now you have to use your email to sign in, I don't think I remember that email. So that channel is now just sitting there. I was upset, I was very young, and my sister and her friend noticed this, and my sister's friend let me use her email to make a new channel, and get ready for the name here, JETRAY 103. Oh boy.
JETRAY 102 is back, baby.
Essentially with JETRAY 103, I just continue where I left off, but like, I didn't continue many of my series, I didn't continue Code Smash, I didn't continue Jettober, though I would bring Nat back that same year with the return of Nat.
No. Long time no see, JETRAY. Remember me?
2010 is also a very significant year in the sense that Tug the Penguin was introduced. He's our mascot of Crimson Kingdom, but back then he was called Mr. Tuggles, and he wasn't meant to be anything big, he was just meant to be a goofy character. He was based on Make Me Bad 35. He was a user that did primarily comedy skits, and he had many different characters like Mr. Wooden Alligator, the Magical Giraffe, where he brought inanimate objects and brought them to life, and that's what I wanted to do with Mr. Tuggles. The whole gag is that he would constantly get on camera, and every time he did, I would do what I call the beating of a lifetime, which I believe was based on the Cartoon Network show Chowder, and there was a character on there called Chestnut who every now and then would say, "I'm gonna give you the beating of a lifetime." That's where the idea of that line came from.
Quick! The show's been cancelled! I need everyone to get out as soon as possible!
Man, what you doing tearing up Chestnut's chandelier like that? Chestnut's about to give you the beating of a lifetime!
But later that year something awful happened. We had a house fire. There was a huge Halloween decoration, this big guy that would essentially be crouching over top of things. He was huge too, but eventually he caught a flame because of a candle that was under him, and the house burned down. Tug was inside, but he survived, as you probably already know. He's just now stained, his belly is now brownish, and he can't stand up on his own anymore because his body, I guess, kind of morphed because of the burning. And also all those cassette-sized taped VCR tapes that would go to my older camera were inside, so that's why I couldn't show you any more footage. Those were destroyed. Remarkably, my Game Boy Advance SP works perfectly fine, and that was in the middle of the fire. It was just standing right there where the flames were peeking into my room. And it still works just fine. It's a miracle. And my DS too. For many months while the house was being rebuilt, we had to live in a place called Jacob's Mill in a small trailer. I believe it was around this time I had already created a web series called Life with Organization 13, which is essentially this awful series where I try to be like, oh, here's what the organization does in their off days, except I wouldn't have any wigs or any real indication of who's who. So I just had the Organization 13 code, and at the very beginning, I didn't even have that. It was just me in like a black sweatshirt being like, I'm Zolden running around. They were awful, but also kind of fun to make. I'll admit it was one of the funnest series I did, and I did it for a long time. I believe lasted for 3 seasons. I also got chased by a drunk bastard the later year because of Life in Organization 13. I'll talk about that another day.
Well, this of course was a very important year. Life in Organization 13, a new channel, an unfortunate house fire, and most importantly, me. But eventually the house was rebuilt, and with a new house came a new Zack. He changed forever, for he discovered the Gothic subculture.
In 2011, the house was rebuilt, and I would essentially go through self-improvement. I wouldn't be uploading as much, so I can't really say there was a lot of stuff that happened that year. I know I was trying to be more experimental. I wanted to be a director at that point in time. Nowadays, I have more of a distaste for live action. I don't hate it, but I just don't really find it as fun to work with as animation. But anyway, at that point in time, I was experimenting. I wasn't uploading as much on YouTube, and I was trying to do self-improvement. I'll tell you guys something. During those years of JETRAY 102 and before, I was a disgusting little cunt. And let me just go ahead and tell you, I didn't brush my teeth at all. I brushed my teeth like once a month maybe. I rarely ever washed my hair. When I got into the shower, I just stood there. I never put on deodorant, so I was like this disgusting little blob. Also, I drank like 12 cans of Mountain Dew a day, so I was really bloated too. And I wore clothes that were way too big for me. Not that that was really that much of a problem in comparison to the other things. It all started because I wanted to grow my hair out, and my mom said, if you want to grow your hair out, you're going to have to take care of it. So I eventually just started washing my hair. And that same year, I was fed up with getting all these fillings at the dentist, so I just stopped drinking soda, which improved my dental health, and also slimmed me up into the size of a toothpick to the point where everyone will make jokes saying, oh, Zach, you're gonna fall through your asshole. And I got so tired of that so quickly. And this was all because I wanted to get into the Gothic subculture, even though arguably my first attempt was more emo or punk than anything else. But it was thanks to the Gothic subculture that I was able to improve my physical health. I was able to actually take care of myself. I was able to brush my teeth, wash my hair and all that. And I still do that today. Don't worry. If you're grossed out, just remember I was like 14. Not really as much of an excuse, but I'm 22 now, so... And I take care of myself regularly. I can't go a day without having a shower because I'll feel weird and stingy. But anyway, moving on. But this wouldn't be too great. I would improve myself health-wise, but my mental health would get worse. I'd be suffering from depression and anxiety even more than ever before, to the point where it had become suicidal. It was, I believe, the end of the year, and there was a lot of stuff going on. A student had just died. I was going through all these complicated feelings, and I didn't know how to regulate my emotions or how to handle certain things. So I went behind a stairwell in the school where nobody could see me, and I didn't do anything like swallow a bunch of pills or hang myself. I got the strings that were on my sweatshirt and attempted to strangle myself. I knocked myself unconscious, and the other teachers found me. They brought me up, and ever since then I wasn't able to wear strings on sweatshirts anymore. And what made things worse was the fact that it seemed like nobody cared. When I came back to school, no one asked like, hey, are you okay? Do you need to talk? It's just like everyone just moved on, and that really hurt me because even some of my closest friends wouldn't say anything. And I understand like they probably didn't want to get involved, but it's just, it hurt me to know that people didn't really care about the fact that I was going through so much trouble that I was going to do that to myself. And that hurt me even more than what I was feeling before the attempt. I didn't attempt it again because I had learned my lesson at that point, but still. And what would be worse is that I would actually go through a fight in school during lunchtime, and when I came back from being suspended, people would constantly walk up to me and say, hey, good job, but what was it like? They cared more about the fact I got into a fight than the fact that I was so upset that it felt as if the only thing I needed to do was to kill myself. And that also sent me into another, what I like to call my first real hiatus, 2012 specifically.
Well, fuck. That was a little depressing. Let's take it to our next guest.
I'll take it from here. Besides, we're getting into my important year soon.
Alright, but I don't think you can handle this.
Oh, I'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? Now here's an old friend we haven't seen for a while, making his return after 7 years. David McKenzie.
How did you and Zachary first meet?
Well, back in my day, I was a little shit, and my sister took me along, and I met this other little shit. And he was a funny guy. And I always knew that, he had some skill with the camera, and on YouTube, he's made it somewhere.
What was your favorite memory of the JETRAY era?
Of the channel? Now, if I want to go for the channel, I'd say probably the binocular video that and we went into McDonald's, took some binoculars, and just ordered some food, looking at the menu with the binoculars.
I don't like selfish either. Oh my god, David! A large Sprite. Thank you, that's it.
Now, best time with Zach, I don't know, there's been times where we've been floating around in that hearse. Like, back in the fucking day, in the hearse. Wow, yeah, there's a funeral car. Fuck, you can edit this to make it look way better.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Governor.
Did you expect things to go this far?
No, I never thought that they wouldn't, but I never really expected shit. And the fact that you have made this far has not surprised me, because I keep an update on YouTube. I just watch the channels. I've seen fucking, I've seen Cow Chop go from fucking nothing to 1,000 to then to 1 million, and now I've seen fucking Markiplier grow. I've seen all of them grow when YouTube was fucking nothing, and when you see growth, you can't really deny that. I've seen your channel grow, dude. Like, it's like, wow. So I didn't really expect it, but I didn't think that it wouldn't happen.
What is it that you're doing with your life right now?
What am I doing with my life? Fuck. Yeah, see me, I'm just growing plants. I'm growing fruit. I'm cloning fruit plants, trying to figure out what the hell to do with my life. Now, where that takes me, I don't know. As far as, like, where I am in comparison to you, I'd say you got your shit a little more together than me. You're a little more self-sufficient. Like, you're able to stand on your own a little more. But as far as where I'm at in my life, I can't complain. I got plants to grow. I got chickens to feed. It's about that.
Well, that was a nice blast from the past. Now to move on to the year the world ended. And what I mean by that is Zach's life in Pennsylvania. That's right. In late 2012, Zach moved almost 3,000 miles away to Washington State to get a fresh start. And that's where I came in.
Now, when I think of the year 2012, not much really comes to mind. It's really just a big blank when it comes to YouTube and the JETRAY era. So there was a lot of stuff that was going on, some that I don't want to talk about, because it doesn't just directly affect me. It was also other people that were affected inside my family. Now, in that year, my mom met this guy who I don't want to give the name out because of privacy reasons, obviously, who gave us the opportunity to move to Washington State, which was almost 3,000 miles away from where we originally lived. As extreme as that sounds, my depression was getting terrible, and instead of handling things head on, I essentially just wanted to run away. So I gladly agreed. I kind of regret that now because I'll probably explain that another day. I don't know if I should now. I definitely would need to ask a few questions before I do, because once again, it's not just about me, it's about the rest of my family, and I don't know how much they want me to mention them. But anyway, since my sister was almost 18, she had graduated not too long before, my mom decided to let her stay and move into an apartment down the street. She didn't stay in that place very long. In fact, there was only one video recorded there, which was another mobile video. When I moved to Washington, I figured I'm going to go all out with a fresh start. And at that point, I made the mistake of taking YouTube seriously. I say that as a mistake for other reasons I'll probably talk about later. So anyway, I decided to abandon JETRAY 103 and start a whole new channel. This is the first time I decided to drop the JETRAY name and go for something else. This is the first channel I was making while I was in the gothic subculture, and I had just discovered the Slender Man, as still to this day one of my favorite horror monsters out there. So of course, put 2 and 2 together, the new channel name would be Gothic Slender Man, which is technically what you're on right now. Cackling Pumpkins is merely just the same channel, but with a different name. Many of the videos where I still went by the name Gothic Slender Man are still on the channel. In fact, I believe the URL is still set up to be Gothic Slender Man, so if you ever want to look me up URL-wise, just put youtube.com, I believe it's /user or channel, can't remember which one, but I know it's Gothic Slender Man after that. No underscore, no space, just Gothic Slender Man. The only reason I used that name was because I thought Slender Man was essentially an open use character, much like Cthulhu, many fairy tales, but it turns out that is not the case. This is the year I also created what would eventually become one of my most popular characters, Bisexual Boxers.
Haven't you heard? I'm bisexual.
Who now you know as Blake the Bisexual Boxers. Essentially, it was just me once again trying to connect with that Make Me Bad 35 inspiration, but going even further by making a character that's literal joke was meant to be foul, disgusting, and also bisexual. Not to say that it had any connection. I just thought like, oh, be mature, haha, make a lot of dick jokes, make him bisexual, so I can make all sorts of sex jokes, haha, I was 16. You see, now you know why I changed his name to Blake and essentially gave the character a major overhaul personality-wise. He was essentially just a walking stereotype at that point, and I didn't want to make a harmful representation of the LGBT community. I didn't want people to be like, oh, this character is basically nothing but, haha, dicks, penis, I love vagina, but I also love dick, pina colada, penis colada. I probably would do some jokes like that every now and then with the character nowadays, but I want to give him more of a personality that doesn't just revolve around him being bisexual. It was never meant to be harmful. It was only a year after my sister had came out as lesbian, so it was never meant to be harmful. It was just me trying to rely on edgy humor. But with that being said, I think that's all that really happened in the year 2012. Not much really came about. I wanted to do something with Nat the Banana Ghost. I know I thought about that, but I don't think it ever came to be. Because the day we actually moved to Washington, like the day we just arrived, was the day of Halloween. I couldn't do anything at that point. It was already too late, and I didn't think I had everything. So I guess it's appropriate just to move on to the next year, 2013, at the officially the 5-year anniversary of the JETRAY era.
After the non-existent apocalypse, Zach tried to experiment with a few things, including one thing that he'd focused on for years, horror. And it's all thanks to creepypasta.
Now this is even harder because I couldn't really think of much that happened in this year either, because I don't know. I know it was my 5-year anniversary, I tried a few ways to celebrate it. I wanted to make a game at that point. For those that don't know, one of my dreams is to make a sort of a crossover game featuring my characters. And that dream started in 2013. It was originally going to be a platform fighter in the form of Smash Brothers, but nowadays I'm not sure what I really would like to do with it. And the reason I didn't go through with it was because, for one, I underestimated what game development is like. 2, I had no way of actually making games. And 3, I didn't have that many characters. Many of the projects I made beforehand were either abandoned, like Code Smash, Clover Spring Memories. Dark Smash never even came to be. Let's see. And the only real characters I had were the early versions of Tug, Blake, Nat, and myself, and maybe like a few others here and there. I can think of a few more now, but at that time, even then I realized I didn't have enough characters. So I spent the next years trying to make more characters so I can eventually make the dream, which is something I would come to regret. I did make a few things like sort of a backstory to Nat the Banana Ghost, how he became a ghost, but honestly, I can't really think of much that happened that year. I know I tried to make a movie, but I can't remember whether or not that was actually 2013 or 14 that happened. I'm pretty sure it was 14 because I think that's when Jack the Terror Skull was introduced. And I know for a fact that's the year.
Well, that was fun. How about we...
Hey, jackass, it's my turn.
Oh, come on, I didn't even get to do a whole 3 years.
And neither will I, thanks to Doug and his mascot privilege. At least make it even between us before I give you the beating of a lifetime.
Fine. I've got a date with Firecrotch anyway.
Alright, folks, it's 2014, the year of torture. Zach tried something a little different by attempting to upload videos almost every day. This will turn out to be his most successful year, and it's all thanks to Freddy Fazbear.
– 2014 is a year that I would come to regret. It was essentially the epitome of quantity over quality. Instead of making fun, entertaining videos, I just slapped stuff together. I essentially became a vlogger in one of those commentary channels. It was mainly just me trying to make videos every single day, which I almost succeeded in. To be fair, it was one of my most successful years out there. I had achieved 15,000 subscribers, and it was mainly thanks to Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's when it came in August, and the years afterwards, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 eventually came, I believe, October. Can't exactly remember, but Five Nights at Freddy's was huge at that point. Five Nights at Freddy's led to my first and so far only video that has over 1 million views. And it's still on the channel. It's, I believe, the top 10 animatronic ideas for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I had a video based on Five Nights at Freddy's 3, but for some reason YouTube took it down and gave me a strike. They never explained why, and despite the fact I have a big dispute button, they never gave me the chance to use it. The dispute button was nowhere to be found. And that essentially killed all of the success I could have had at that point. I was finally growing, I was gaining subscribers, but what happened was that, thanks YouTube, you gave me a strike, didn't even tell me why, and you didn't even give me a chance to dispute it, which essentially destroyed my one and only chance to actually become a successful YouTuber in the past 10 fucking years. But you know what, I'm kind of glad I didn't actually become successful, because I feel like with my behavior at that point, I was just a piece of shit in 2014. I didn't respect many other people. I essentially thought my life was a movie. And I say that because one person who I was friends with at that point in time actually said that to me. They said, you need to stop acting like your life is a movie. And then I was just like, I know what you're talking about. But nowadays, I completely understand. I was like, yeah, I was essentially just doing that. I was just pretending my life was a movie. I come to regret many of the things I did in 2014 and 13. Some I'll probably talk about another day, but I don't think this is the most appropriate time to do so. But I forgot to mention one thing. One important thing that I actually consider more important than the Five Nights at Freddy's videos. In early 2014, I made what eventually became another popular character, Jack the Terror Skull, whose name back then was originally just
Terror. I think I'll be of assistance.
Aren't you the skull from the time Zach was trying to make those Christmas specials?
Yeah, pretty much.
What do you think?
Well, what do you call yourself?
Yeah, what do you call yourself?
Terror.
I like him. What do you think?
Terror was just a skull who loved to torture people. Once again, connecting to Blake's origins, he was just meant to be this edgy character that revolved around being edgy. He loved torturing people, he loved scaring others, but he wasn't necessarily a bad person. A lot of the times he would defend his friends, he would try and protect them, but a lot of the times he would be both a torturer and a scarer. So I wouldn't necessarily call him a good person at that point in time. Even still now, with his newer version, Jack the Terror Skull, he's still in that weird in-between where he's sort of an anti-hero. He hasn't changed that much over the years. He has been given more of a personality like Blake, but that's really it. Terror was introduced mainly to make sort of a Three Stooges-like thing. You know, like, once again, Three Stooges, Ed, Edd n Eddy. I wanted to make a trio. And at that point, it was Mr. Tuggles, Bisexual Boxers, and Terror. And they've changed over the years into who they are now. To Tug the Penguin, Blake the Bisexual Boxers, and Jack the Terror Skull. Sorry, almost called him Jake. And I still like the character. I still use him to this day. I find him kind of fun. His voice is really hard to do, though. It's easy at first, but it starts to hurt after a while. I can't do that many lines with Jack, and that actually got me to consider changing his voice, but I just couldn't find a new idea for it. Other things came in 2014. One of the things I would regret that I will mention now is that I just slapped stuff together, once again as an attempt to make more characters for that game I wanted to create. One of which was Jake and Nightmare, which is essentially just this big black lab we had named Jake, and this little Pomeranian I had for only a year at that point, who I still have now, Nightmare, just talking to each other. And Nightmare would be this overly excited little kid, be like, Jake, let's go on an adventure! And Jake would just be that grouchy old man, be like, what the hell do you want? Jake, guess what I found? Unless it's alcohol and drugs, you get the hell out of here! There are only about like 4, maybe 5 episodes that were made. I actually considered making a finale, but unfortunately in 2015, Jake was put down since he had gotten cancer. So technically the only way I can really make a finale is if I made Jake like a ghost or something. Another project I tried to create was Bloody Madness, 2014 webcomic which I still kind of like the idea of, but I feel like there could have been a lot of better execution. The earliest version of Alice Darkson came at this point, called The Incarnation of Quintus Demonio, which is awful, just terrible. Every time I think of it, I just think, oh god. I'm glad I didn't continue forth with The Incarnation of Quintus Demonio. There's only like 1 full chapter and half of the second chapter that's out, and it's generally just this steaming pile of nonsensical self-insert garbage. There was also other things like Tears of Torture, Dance of Suicide, other things that were equally rushed, just so I can go ahead and say, hey, I have this character, put them into this game, which of course never came to be either. There were some things I am proud of that came at that point. Normal Horse started in 2014, and also other characters like Harry Dick, famous journalist and interviewer, also came in 2014, and another character who I like, who I haven't used since his introduction, and I can't even remember his name. He was like this Halloween character who I actually introduced at school at that point. We were doing a Halloween thing where everyone can come in costumes, and I came in as that character who I can't remember the name of. He was meant to be elegant, yet also sort of evil. There was another character I made called Unknown, who was essentially a parody of Anonymous. But instead of actually doing things to try and change the country, Unknown would just complain about things that really don't matter, yet he believes are the things that are ruining this country, like reality TV shows. Oh god. 2014 had a lot, but once again, like I said, it was the epitome of quantity over quality. It tried way too hard to introduce a lot of characters, a lot of series, but it had no real substance. I am not proud of 2014, and there are only certain things I am proud of from 2014, being Normal Horse, Jack the Terror Skull, and a few select characters here and there, but everything else I really dislike. But I wouldn't mind either retooling a lot of those assets and making something new out of them, or perhaps maybe just remaking or rebooting something like Bloody Madness or Dance of Suicide, which is kind of what Tales of the Grimoire Sapien is. Tales of the Grimoire Sapien is kind of an evolution of that. I believe 2014 was the last full year I was in Washington State, and 2015 would be the year that I'd return to Pennsylvania for the exact same reasons that I left. Pathetic, I know.
Now with all of this happening, let's settle down with our last interview with Zach's great friend from Washington, Joanna Wise.
How did you two first meet?
We first met when he started coming to my high school, junior year, in the same English class, and Miss Bloom, I still remember her name to this day, which class it was. Yeah, I'm kind of a dork like that. When he first came around, I just, had this massive crush on him, I'm not gonna lie. It's no shame in the past now. I just really wanted to get to know this guy, but the problem was I was too much of a shy asshole to really do anything. So eventually we would start talking, and turns out we have quite a bit in common with each other, and through that friendship is how I found out about his channels and everything, and like a stalker, I ended up checking it out for myself.
What was your favorite memory of the JETRAY era?
The first video and first and only video, I mean, was if Facebook was real life, and we ended up doing that at the Centralia campus, the college campus, and it was almost like around sunset at the time. And so the thing about where I live, like still live, and where he used to live, there would be like these trains that would just zoom by constantly, and you would never know what time it would be. Like, you could basically be doing whatever, cooking dinner, watching TV, jerking off to porn, doesn't matter. You could hear just like the sound of a train off in the distance. It would just throw off whatever game you're doing. Anyway, those noises, I still remember that those would interrupt our shooting, and we would get so pissed about that. Okay, but maybe I should just talk about the video itself. So basically what we did was basically, Zach came up with the idea of, hey, what if people communicated to each other like how we would on Facebook? And keep in mind, when this is done, this was sort of around the time when Facebook was kind of a new thing, kind of, sort of. So, and I still remember the little sound effect that we used, and my absolute favorite part about the whole video was that the part of Joanna sent a sticker, and I just raised my middle finger at the camera. Good times.
You know what? This conversation is over. I am done with this. I am done with this bull. You can go ahead and randomly stare at other people all you want, but I'm going ahead and go to Tumblr or Twitter because Facebook is just not working out for me. Okay? Alright. You have fun standing there? I'm gonna go.
Did you ever think it would go this far?
If I were to be completely honest, yeah. But then again, when I was first thinking about it, I'd honestly thought that, yeah, you basically be like a giant superstar, not gonna lie.
What are your future plans?
I don't have a slight clue. I'm just kinda rolling the tides, and currently I'm busy with the National Guard in my state, so I'm just gonna kinda see where that takes me. I'm kinda thinking about staying, but I'm not quite sure yet. But I don't know why I'm answering this question. This is supposed to be about you, Zach, and your channels, and all about JETRAYs and shit, not about me and shit. Ugh.
How about we take a few steps back, or should I say 3,000 miles back? In early 2015, Zach moved back to Pennsylvania to attempt to start his new life.
So I can't really say I remember that much that happened in 2016, not because I genuinely forgot, but mainly because there wasn't that much that actually happened in 2015 when it came to web series, characters. It was mainly just me trying to be a functioning adult while also making some Smash Wii U and 3DS DLC speculation videos, some more Five Nights at Freddy's content. I know I tried to do stuff like there was a series called Fucked Up Fridays that I was trying to do, and I forgot what that was even about, but I knew I had like sort of a quote-unquote set. There was like a foresty area behind the apartments we lived in Dover, and I used that as sort of a quote-unquote set for Fucked Up Fridays. Yeah, demonetized. I know I tried to do like a 5-year anniversary to Tug. Back then known as Mr. Tuggles. I was going to do a big Q&A, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I got lazy, alright? I do know that the JETRAY era version of Nat the Banana Ghost appeared for the last time in a 2015 video. I believe it was the top 10 things that scared me as a kid that shouldn't as an adult. Whoa. One of those kind of videos, which was horrendous because I tried to do a two-parter with it, and it just wasn't that good. It was completely improvised. I mainly script content now, minus this. This is improvised only because it's about my life. So that being said, not much happened. It was uneventful. I will say this though, one thing that happened that was behind the scenes really pissed me off. I made a video called the top 10 removed content from Kingdom Hearts, which meant that every section on the list talked about removed content from each Kingdom Hearts game, even having a section dedicated to Final Fantasy. What happens is that the video is almost done, and Digino Gaming decided, oh hey, how about we release our Kingdom Hearts 2 video, or part 2 I should say. And I was like, alright, not a big deal. I released it tomorrow. I believe it was on the same exact day. This podcast of Kingdom Hearts YouTubers decided to be like, hey, let's make a podcast where we talk about removed content from Kingdom Hearts. And I'm like, son of a bitch! You have no idea how much that happens where it's like, I think I make an original idea. This is so cool. And all of a sudden, like 20 different YouTubers do it at the exact same time. You're watching me. I know you are. Get out of my brain! So that's not really much that happened in 2015. Mainly just me dealing with the strike that I got from the year before, Five Nights at Freddy's, Smash Wii U 3DS, that one Kingdom Hearts thing, and empty promises. But don't worry, 2016 is even less eventful.
Well, that was uneventful. And how about something even less eventful? Hiatuses. Welcome to 2016, the year that everyone hated because it became a meme to do so.
So December of 2015 rolled up, and the lease went up on my apartment, and I didn't have enough money to really keep it. So I decided to go ahead and find a new apartment, which was not easy, because I didn't have that much money, and I wanted to find something cheap. I thought I found a steal, and I have very low standards, but even I thought, okay, no, Here's what happened. We went into the place, they were giving us a tour and everything. It was big, spacious, and the first room wasn't too great. I thought, you know what, it is cheap. I shouldn't expect, like, a polished floors, marble walls, and everything. I go into the next room. There's no upstairs, right? And they have stairs that go up to it. The stairs are made out of plywood. No carpeting, no refining whatsoever, just straight up plywood. And they're like, oh yeah, those stairs are done. Oh, really? Those are really completed. The kitchen was all black, and not black in the sense of like gothic or anything else, or the walls are painted black. It's like moldy, disgusting. The appliances are from like another timeline. And then I go upstairs, right? Maybe we can salvage it. Maybe upstairs won't be as bad. It was huge, spacious. The bathroom was unnecessarily big. Creepily big, actually. They got like this old-ass bathtub, and it's like, wow, really big for something that doesn't need to be. And I noticed something. There's a Bible in every room. Now, I don't have a problem with religion, but what freaked me out is, why was there a Bible literally in every room? I was terrified to remove the said Bibles or even nudge them in fear of Satan crawling out and ripping into my anus. So I decided, yeah, this isn't gonna work. I decided to move with the family for a little bit to get back on my feet, and I rushed out again, I believe a few weeks later. It was in the same place that, I'd say maybe it was an apartment, I don't know, sort of a house, I guess. It was one of those houses where it's attached to a bunch of other houses. But anyway, it was in the same town, East Berlin, and that's actually where I recorded the Make an Undertale video. But it didn't last long, despite the fact it was a really nice place, money caught up again. I shouldn't have rushed into it. That's my problem, though. I shouldn't do that. So, my family decided, how about we just help getting back on our feet, because it wasn't just me that was going through problems, it was them too. Everyone was, including my sister. So I decided, alright, that works, we can help each other out. So we got Wi-Fi there too, but the Wi-Fi that was only available in that area, which is literally right up the street, don't know how that works, they decided, oh, it's data-based, kind of like your phone, so basically that means if you run out of data, Wi-Fi is going to be incredibly slow, to the point where the website's just going to give up loading. I'm like, son of a bitch. So that's why I was only able to upload like 12, maybe 13 videos, and I'm pretty sure half of them were just update videos. So, really uneventful. Not much happened. I believe the story of looking into that questionable place was more eventful than 2016 in the JETRAY era.
Now to finish things off, let's take it back to Tuck for the last few years.
Thanks, Jack the Terror Skull. Now, 2016 wasn't the best year, to say the least, but 2017 would definitely be an improvement. Well, an improvement from 2016 anyway.
So in late 2016, my sister gave me the opportunity to move in with her girlfriend, and another roommate. I thought this was going to help even more. We got Wi-Fi, and I was a making machine. We moved into what's known as the Windsor Apartments, which I lived in for 2 years, and I believe one of the first days, I got my sister to help me with Normal Horse as a guest. A random 3-year return of Normal Horse. And in the year, I wanted to be known for talking about media, which is something that I kind of resent nowadays as well. I want to be known for what I make rather than talking about someone else's creation. Not to say that anyone who talks about media is like beneath me in any way, shape, or form. So I made several different series, one of which being Grotesque Brain, which technically this is not the first time Grotesque Brain came to be. I created it back in 2015, and it was not that good. It was barely scripted. Episodes were like 2 to 3 minutes. They're all done by me instead of having guest voice. And another big general difference was how the audio was. You see, back then I didn't have a microphone. And how I did audio back then was just get my camera, put it on its lens, and talk to it. Because that's how audio works. It was early 2017 when I got my tax returns, and I used that to get my Wacom tablet, and also a Blue Snowball microphone, which I am currently using, and an Elgato, which, unfortunately, my computer doesn't work with any Elgato product, so I just wasted $150, but it was kind of my own fault. I should have done research beforehand. 2017 is also a point in time when I tried to go through sort of a rebranding. I dropped the Gothic Slenderman name in favor of Hotel Room 103, which worked because I had a character known as the Butler of Time. You know how butlers often work in very pristine areas like mansions and hotels. That's what I was going for. Hotel Room 103 was mainly just me talking about media with Grotesque Brain, 5 creepy things from, and later on I eventually would create Cartoon Asylum, and 2018 I created Lost Cartridge. But in 2017, I started planning for what would eventually become one of my biggest mistakes, Crimson Kingdom. You see, Crimson Kingdom I consider a mistake because it was essentially just me being like, oh, I'm concerned that people aren't going to watch my main stuff, and the media stuff is going to overshadow it, so how about I make a second channel? Good on paper, right? But the problem was that it basically destroyed my channel. Like, any views that I had remaining from the strike that I got basically dwindled away to nothing. Mainly because of Crimson Kingdom. I should have kept everything on the same channel. There is some good stuff that came out of this, though it's very convoluted. In 2017, Rainbot Horror decided to allow a bunch of content creators to submit videos for what would eventually become 71 creepy YouTube channels, which I was one of the first on there, and I hate my video. A lot of people were just making videos like, oh, here's why you should subscribe to my channel. Mine was just, here's 3 weird reasons people can die. I'm not proud of the video. I should have done for more sort of like an ad like everyone else was doing, which I would get the opportunity to do that later thanks to Nightmare Expo, now known as Nexpo. He did something similar with the top 20 creepy YouTube channels. I believe that's what it's called. But I'm still not proud of the video on there either. It was mainly just, I'm Tug the Penguin, and here's why you should love me, instead of like actually showing stuff. I should have done like a hybrid between the two, which I would eventually get that opportunity, and I'll talk about that later. In the end of 2017, I also introduced one of my favorite characters, and that is Mr. Blank. I went to Spirit Halloween, and I saw this mannequin. I'm like, I have to have you. I need you. Can I have you? So I just bought him. He was like $60. I think it was for a half price thing too, because it was after Halloween. And I just thought he'd be a co-host. But now Mr. Blank has sort of evolved into his own character. I really like doing Mr. Blank. He's a character full of mystery. And despite the fact he's really simplistic too. His voice is literally just me going, and just putting subtitles over it. I love doing that sort of stuff. And that's why I like doing Mr. Blank, because he's a character that relies on just me being me. So he's despite being a co-host, he's technically more like me than the Butler of Time was. I also eventually created Void of Space, though I can't remember whether or not that was 2018 or 2017. I ditched Butler of Time because I didn't really like the aesthetic that was going on with it. I was more or less just trying way too hard to appear as gothic, and also it just was kind of dull because there were so many different content creators that do the whole, I'm in a suit, look at me. So I tried to be a little more different. Not to say I want those other content creators that appear in a suit to feel bad, by any means. I decided to go ahead and create a Void of Space, who would essentially canonically be a brother to the Butler. I would have this big white mask that I painted over, and essentially would just wear my regular clothes. The mask was the only thing that was required, and maybe a leather jacket too, but I wouldn't mind going without it and just putting a t-shirt on. The mask is the only thing that's really required. But it was around 2018 when things really started to change for the better.
Now we're finally here, the 10th year of the JETRAY era. Now, it's not a complete year, so let's just catch up everything that's happened, especially with Zach's new life he's starting. With that being said, everyone, welcome to Texas.
Alright, this is it, the final year of the JETRAY era, and I'm sad to say there wasn't really that much that I did besides plan for Cackling Pumpkins. Early 2018 is when I started Crimson Kingdom, which, as you already know, I've come to regret. I should have had everything be on the same channel, like I said. However, I would come to realize this much, much later, I believe. It was after I moved to Texas. You see, money was also getting tight again, and I wanted to go to college, but the problem is, one, money, and two, I didn't really have a lot of options in my area. I would have to move irregardless. My family decided, hey, we're moving to Texas, would you like to come with? They have a lot of schools there. And I thought, you know what? Maybe this is what I need. Like a complete change of pace. Like, it's what Gothic Slender Man was supposed to be. So I decided to go down there and try to continue making videos traditionally. And then I just kind of decided, what am I doing? I kind of realized the mistake of Crimson Kingdom. And I thought, you know what? I need to just do what I want. I need to go ahead and do Let's Plays for fun. I need to go back to doing things for fun. Every single time I mentioned, oh, I'm taking YouTube too seriously back then, I still was. And I feel like no matter what, I'm going to take YouTube a little seriously for the sake of my content. But at the same time, I always took it seriously to the point where I tried to chase success. And I'm not going to shame anyone for wanting fame and fortune, but I'm going to shame people for only coming for just that and nothing else. You wanting fame and fortune, that's fine. Everyone wants that. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to become famous through my videos or rich through my videos or the things that I created. But that's not my main goal. I feel like nowadays there's so many content creators that just jump on YouTube with the expectation of just fame and fortune and nothing else. And I feel like that causes YouTube to feel really dead creative-wise. So I decided, you know what? How about I just make something where I can be me? And if people like it, that's great. If not, whatever. At least I can say I made stuff. So that's when I made Cackling Pumpkins. I was thinking of the idea of the name, and I wanted to go for sort of a Halloween aesthetic, because the original idea of Cackling Pumpkins was going to be a daily horror channel. I would do things like horror game Let's Plays, vlogs, skits, and all that kind of stuff. Some dark comedy stuff. But then I realized, that's just me following success again. And what made me realize this, and what made me realize what I really wanted to do, was thanks to one YouTuber.
Every year I seek innovation and new presentation, and this time around, I know precisely how I want to incorporate that. What I want this year is you. In the spirit of Candy Bowl and Night Mine to the fullest, I'm cranking the community factor up for October 2018. This year, the showcase for new original creator content is open to everyone.
You see, Nightmind, also known as Nick Nocturne, announced what he was doing for Candy Bowl 2019. For those who don't know what Candy Bowl is, it's essentially his Halloween special where he shows a lot of undiscovered talent. He decided that he was going to let his viewers make content in a theme called 90s Nightmare, so essentially just, you had to make something that took place in the 90s or related to the 90s. I decided to go ahead and make sort of one of those montage variety shows like Kablam or What a Cartoon. and I made Tug's Coffin of Dead Jokes. I was originally going to do like a slasher thing where all the characters were dying. I wanted something that would be what I wanted to begin with for the Rainbot and Nexpo appearances. It would take sort of the original approach that the Rainbot video did, but sort of like advertising a bunch of stuff. There are even hints to future series that haven't even been finished yet. And you know what? This is the first time I was proud of one of those videos that appeared on someone else's channel. I love Tug's Coffin of Dead Jokes. And after it was uploaded, I watched the whole thing. I didn't want to just be like, oh, I'm going to watch my thing and no one else's. And I loved it. There was a lot of great talent. To be involved in something with so many great creators brings me enough joy, which is why I still kind of like the videos that Rain and Nexpo made. I just don't like my submissions. But this is the first time I actually did like a submission. I revisited the video again because apparently YouTube doesn't tell me when people reply to my comments that I make in other people's videos. And whether it be replies to me or even comments in Nick Nocturne's video, I saw just a lot of people saying that Tug's Coffin of Dead Jokes was one of their favorites, how much they liked it, and that brought me joy. I love making people happy. I love making people laugh, bring them joy, or even make them scared and thrills with horror. And seeing all these comments really just made me realize this is what I should do. My content, my characters still have a home. I was always afraid that because of the changes of YouTube, characters like Tug, Blake just don't work anymore, even if I were to change them. That era of YouTube seemed to be over. But now it seems to be kicking. It still seems to be alive, and I was able to witness that because of my own characters. I even saw someone refer to me as Gothic Slenderman, and I was like, I haven't heard that name in years. And that gave me the inspiration to do what I do now. Right now I'm just mainly emptying the Red Room series that was originally going to be for the daily schedule, and then eventually when that's done, I'm going to go ahead and focus on my passion projects. And it's all thanks to both Tug's Coffin of Dead Jokes and Nick. I want to go ahead and personally thank Nick Nocturne for forming Cackling Pumpkins to what it is now, because if it wasn't for the 90s Nightmare Candy Bowl, Cackling Pumpkins would have just been a repeat of the JETRAY era all over again. I also would like to thank Rainbot and Nexpo because I feel like they also had a bit of an influence on how I create content now. And with that being said, the rest of the year was mainly dedicated to planning Cackling Pumpkins. And I can't really say much happened after that. Related to the JETRAY era. The JETRAY era was fun. It was a blast to do. I'm not proud of everything that happened in it, and I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm glad I was able to learn from them. Whether that be me being 12 years old, making One True Media montages, top list, skits, characters. I love the fact I was able to do all this. I regret some of it, but to be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that I made those, made the content that I'm not very proud of, I would have never learned from those mistakes. I was able to grow into who I am now, and the JETRAY era was able to form Cackling Pumpkins into what it is. I want to take this point in time to thank people who have helped me throughout the JETRAY era, whether that be personal friends or family, like my sister, my sister's friends, my personal friends, my family. I believe maybe some teachers even helped out too. I just can't name any. People who have collaborated, whether they be voice actors, for stuff like Grove of Spring Memories, the Candle Cove creepypasta reading, and even the YouTubers who helped forming Grotesque Brain into what it became, such as Lance's creepy reading, Nordic Vampire, Lily C Nation, and Graveyardical Gotha. Also, Lazy Creepypasta for helping me with another collaboration. It was the Top 10 Disney Creepypastas, which I still like that video too. It was one of my personal favorites I ever made. I also like to personally thank Rainbot, Nexpo, and Nick for help forming me into the creator that I am now, and I guess in a weird way Blue Lava 6, though it's not really by a video shown. It's more by something behind the scenes. I'll probably talk about that another day. The JETRAY era was fun, but all things come to an end. I want to make YouTube something where I can release passion projects, do my own thing with my own characters, series, show the characters that I want to make, and tell the stories I've always wanted to tell. And even if it doesn't work out, that's perfectly fine. But with that being said, I guess I have to say this one last time. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, maybe favorite, and subscribe if you'd like to see some more. And with that being said, one last time, we all see fish on the ceiling at least once in our lives.
Well, that was a wild ride. From penguins, bisexual boxers, torturous skulls, fires, a poor education, a lifeless mannequin, the gothic subculture, and a slender man to boot. It's been a fun 10 years, but we're not stopping here. YouTube may be constantly falling apart, but that's no reason to give up. We never stopped when we were locked out of JETRAY 102. Depression never stopped us. Hiatuses only gave us more time to improve. I can't exactly promise what'll happen next, but I'm excited to see what happens in the next era.